Let's take a look at your AM sport, and with the increasing demands on professional athletes to not only perform well but to also maintain a specific appearance, the role of sports nutritionists and dietitians has become of paramount importance over recent years. The correct diet for an athlete not only assists them with optimizing performance but can also aid with recovery. But how different is an ordinary diet from the diet required for an athlete? And is it simply about shedding kilograms and looking leaner, or is there more to it than meets the eye? Well, joining us in studio to have this conversation is a private practicing dietitian with a special interest in sports nutrition, Moloko Mehlape. Moloko, thank you so much for joining us here on the AM Report. And I suppose that's a good place to start it, isn't it? Is it simply about looking lean, or is there more to it?
Thank you for having me. It's more about your body composition. We cannot assess a person with our eyes and say this person is not fit, or we cannot use the BMI. In the olden days, we would use BMI to assess, to classify you as having a normal weight, having overweight or being underweight. But in athletic population, there's more to that. We use what we call body composition. It's all about what your body is made of. So a person's body is divided into 4 components, which is your body water, your bone density, your muscle weight, and your fat weight. So we need to have all these categories in the right ranges for us to consider you healthy.
And what are the right ranges? And I want us to bring up a diagram perhaps for visual representation so that we can have a look at exactly what it is that you look at when you're looking at that body composition, because people would want to know, if you're saying it has to be at the right numbers, what are those right numbers and what do you look at?
It depends on one's age. For different ages, we need to have a specific amount of fat composition. It also depends on your gender. So soccer players normally are required to have a fat percentage between 6 and 13. So if the fat percentage is above 13, then we need to work on something to reduce it. And if it's below 6%, then that is also not healthy. So here with me, we have a body composition report. This is for one of the soccer players that I was seeing. So this soccer player was referred to me because he was considered unhealthy or unfit. And I did this body composition analysis. If you can look at the first figure there, it shows the amount of body weight, the amount of body water and the bone density and the fat mass. So if you can look at that, all these are within the ranges recommended. So the body fat percentage is around 12%, which is considered healthy. So the issue with this athlete is they were not eating healthy because they were putting pressure on them to say you are unhealthy, you are gaining weight. So they started practicing unhealthy eating habits. They will cut off starches from their diet. They will cut off this. They'll start eating at 12, and that is very unhealthy for an athlete. So when we look at the body composition, it's 12.3%, which is considered very healthy for a soccer athlete. So before we can put pressure on the soccer athletes to lose weight, we need to check their diet. What are they currently eating? Are they fueling enough? Are they practicing pre-exercise snacking or pre-exercise nutrition? Are they also practicing post-exercise recovery nutrition as well?
Now, that's a very interesting thing that you mentioned, because we actually spoke about it yesterday on the show, which is, the appearance of certain players. We saw a game over the weekend involving Kaizer Chiefs where there was a specific player, and certain comments that were directed towards him because of his appearance. He didn't look the same way that many would have seen him in the months to pass. And you've just mentioned now that it's not just down to that. The athlete that you saw, the club was concerned, thinking he was presenting as overweight, but your findings were actually that he's underweight.
Yes, he actually had to gain a little bit of fat on the arms. On that diagram, it also shows, it's a body composition analysis, so it assesses someone's weight based on the amount of fat, the amount of water they have in the body, if it's within the range. So they were actually supposed to gain weight.
And in an instance like that, where you've now identified that it's unhealthy eating habits that are, causing the player to perhaps eat unhealthily, what do you then recommend, or what is the corrective action that then must be taken from that point on to ensure that it doesn't continue?
Okay. I wish that a lot of clubs can invest in sports dietitians, because we play a very important role in making sure that the athletes get proper nutrition for the type of sport that they are doing. So if you come to a dietitian will do what we call a comprehensive assessment. We do an anthropometry. That's where we check you from head to toe. We analyze your weight, your height, your BMI, and also your body fat percentage and your muscle weight, your water weight, the body composition that I just showed you now. And then we go down further to do what we call biochemistry. That's when we are required to take bloods. Do you have enough iron in your body? Do you have enough, do you have the right amount of cholesterol? Is it within range? Are you a healthy person when you check your blood? Then the third one, we do what we call a clinical assessment. That's where we check you from head to toe, looking out for signs of micronutrient deficiencies. So as a sports dietitian, you are able to observe a person and say, when I look at these eyes, I see iron deficiency. So sometimes you will need bloods to confirm that. And then we go further and do what we call a dietary assessment. Dietary assessment is us looking at the athlete, checking what do they eat from the morning until the day ends. Do they consume anything before exercise? Do they consume anything after exercise? And then from there we look at their budget around food, their lifestyle if they consume alcohol. We come up with a plan that suits the athlete's lifestyle, their body composition, their age, and their food budget, and their culture as well.
And how much do you factor in, existing health conditions in an instance like that?
That is very important. So when you get to a dietitian, we do consider if you are diabetic, we need to factor in that. If you have hypertension, we need to factor in that. That is why we call it a tailored meal plan. I cannot plan a diet for this person and we use it for another person. It needs to be, it's very important that it is tailored for you. And we also look at the medication and supplements that an athlete is taking so that we can factor them in the diet.
Well, a lot of athletes, of course, live and breathe the gym. It's all about working out. How do you then advise them against perhaps overdoing that and having that as one of the consequences of, health issues that they might overcome? Because those are certain things that you come across as well.
Yes. So in athletic population, we often find athletes abusing supplements, which is a very bad practice. So if you're going to use a supplement, make sure that you consult with your healthcare professionals, specifically your dietitian, because with the supplement market, it's not regulated. So you can easily breach the doping principles. So it's very important that whatever that you're going to take as a supplement, you need to make sure that you consult first. And not everyone needs supplements. A lot of people think just because their teammates or their friends are taking supplements, then it means they have to use them. But we can actually meet our nutritional requirements, your energy, your protein, your carbohydrates intake, and your fat with food first. So as dietitians, we believe in food first approach. So we need to first try food before we can move to supplements. And
if you're looking at that in terms of the foods that an athlete would be, termed to be their go-to foods, what would those be? What do you recommend as being the optimal athlete diet?
Okay, so as an athlete, you don't just eat like any other person. Your energy requirements are high, your carbohydrates requirements are high, your protein, your vitamin and minerals are high. So basically, we start with what we call a pre-exercise or a pre-event meal. So that is a type of meal that we consume 3 to 4 hours before an exercise. Let's say they're going to have a match around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then 3 to 4 hours before them, they need to have a balanced meal. A balanced meal, I mean a meal that contains a healthy starch. Healthy starches are brown starches, your brown rice, your brown pasta, your brown bread. They are very high in fiber. So you cannot have high fiber foods just before exercising. It's very important that you time them at least 3 to 4 hours before exercise. Then the second thing that we need to include there is your healthy protein, which is mostly your lean meats, your skinless chicken, your grilled cake, and maybe your beans as well. And then we also need to have a salad there or a vegetable there. So mostly half of the plate is supposed to be vegetables, and then a quarter starch, a quarter protein. Then from there we move to the pre-exercise snack that we normally consume an hour before exercise or an hour before a match. So that one is normally a light meal that is not too heavy, that doesn't have a lot of fiber. So the purpose of that pre-exercise meal, pre-exercise snack is mainly to provide energy when you are exercising. So it's very important that it's a light meal that is easily digested so that we can release the energy quicker. Then during the exercise, we need to consume water, if possible, around every 15 to 20 minutes. And if the exercise is going to last for more than an hour, then we need to incorporate sports drinks, which have electrolytes. When people are sweating, they lose a lot of fluids and important salts in the body. That's where the sports drinks come in, and not energy drinks, sports drinks specifically. And then within an hour after an exercise event, we need to do what we call recovery nutrition. So we need to have we can have protein like yogurt and maybe a fruit or a healthy smoothie there. It's very important to consume post-exercise nutrition within 30 minutes of exercising, because during that period, your body goes through what we call an anabolic period. It's on a building mode. So you are more likely to replace the glycogen, which is needed for energy on the next match or on the next practice.
So let's assume then you're an athlete, a model athlete, you followed all of these steps, yet you're still not clinically presenting as, you know, the model of a fit athlete, and you don't look like what people would say you ought to look like as a firm athlete. What would be some of the causes for that happening?
Okay, I think the other thing is alcohol consumption can play a role there. You know, after playing games, you want to celebrate. If you won, we want to celebrate, and we tend to overindulge in alcohol. Alcohol has one of the highest calories. So if you're going to have 1 can or 330 mils of cider or beer, you're basically consuming energy that is equivalent to 2.5 slices of bread. So we need to check the lifestyle as well. When you are away on games, are you eating healthy, or just because we are away, we just eat whatever that is available? That is why we stress that teams should start employing sports dietitians. We help them in the kitchen with planning the menus for the athletes, the club menus, and then when they travel, we travel with them and make sure that the athletes consume the right things. And also, we're not saying people should not consume alcohol, but it should be done so in a sensible manner. So the recommendations are a male person can consume 2 servings of alcohol per day. So if you're consuming beer, that would be like your 330 mils. Then if you're consuming wine, that will be like 2 glasses of around 200 mils each. And then if you're consuming your spirits, around 2 tots, of which one is around 25 to 30 mils. So we do allow people to have fun, but we need to do so in moderation.
And just in closing then, we're talking about consuming somewhat prohibited substances. We did see recently with Paul Pogba being sanctioned for doping offenses. How frequent is it where you would have athletes that accidentally then get caught out for doping, where you don't necessarily intend to, but it might be you're taking supplements, you're taking certain medication, and you're not aware that this is against the WADA guidelines?
It is very frequent. Like I said, the supplement market is not regulated. So that is why it's very important. Consult with your doctor, consult with your dietitian before you take any supplements, because you can potentially be tested positive for doping if you're going to self-prescribe your supplements. A lot of athletes are taking supplements, and some of them are not necessary. You know, you're just taking them because someone else is taking them. So speak to your dietitian, and they tailor a meal plan for you. If there is a need for supplements, they will recommend the ones that are authentic.
Well, then, as we close it, where can people find you? You keep saying speak to your dietitian. Where are you based?
I am based in Centurion at Mall at 55, in Taike Mall at 55.
Right, so that is how you can get a hold of Moloko Mehlape, who is, of course, a dietitian that we do have here, sharing all the tips and tricks in terms of how athletes can get in tip-top shape, and, of course, demystifying a lot of the myths around what it is to be an athlete that is presenting as healthy.